Hi guys, I'm Jazz and I'm here to teach you today all about value-based pricing. So, value-based pricing seems to be one of those kind of buzzy words, right? That people throw around and say, oh, just charge value-based pricing, which leaves you sitting there going, well, wait, what is value-based pricing? What makes it so great? And so I'm here to teach you the recipe to finding the value in the projects that you're providing to your clients so that you can actually start charging for that value rather than exchanging time for dollars. So grab your snacks, let's dig in. So let's dig into discovering the recipe for value-based pricing. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to bill for your value of your creative projects so that you can start charging your worth and stop exchanging time for dollars. So let's first look at who are you. You could be a designer who serves their clients through their freelance business and all of your billable hours seem to be overflowing. It's a good situation to be in until it's not. Maybe you're a creative that feels like you provide so much more value than what you are charging for and want to find a better way to bill your clients. You could be a creative who freelances on the side of their day job and wants to make the leap, but you're scared about the income. And you could even be a designer who's always billed hourly and would like to explore value-based pricing, but never really knew where to start. And just like any good buffet, you could be any part of these. You could pick and choose and make your plate of who you are. And either way, I'm here to help. So I want to ask, what's holding you back from value-based pricing? Is it fear? Is it that you're scared of what the whole value-based pricing thing is, or that you could get burned by putting the wrong value on something? Maybe you lack the knowledge. You've always wanted to, but you've never actually understood what value-based pricing is. Perhaps you have guilt. You're feeling guilty that you would be charging more than the hours that you've worked. Or maybe you've got confusion. You're not quite sure about the whole setup and actually how it all works. Or you could just be really uncomfortable. There might be some discomfort around putting a value amount on your projects, and you want to try and get past that discomfort. But I'm here to help. I'm here to help you find out the best recipe for you. So on the menu today, we will be looking at exploring value-based pricing and the benefits of charging for the value rather than the dollars. And we'll look at how we can work out the value of a project so we can be charging for the value. And then we're going to tackle the chewy parts, presenting value-based pricing to your clients so that they actually say yes. So what is value-based pricing? Value-based pricing puts a dollar amount on the value that you are serving up to your clients rather than the hours that you are invested. Now, traditionally, hours invested in exchange for dollar amounts is pretty much the going thing. Hourly rates or project rates, but mainly hourly rates, have always been the thing of like, okay, this is how much I'm charging based on the time I've spent. And I'm here to tell you that that's just one part of the recipe. That's just one part. Step one in the method is how long is it taking? But there's lots of other parts of this method that we're going to, I guess, find the method in the madness. So let's look at something I posted a little bit earlier this year. So earlier this year, I posted a question to my followers. Are you pricing for the ingredients, the slice of pie, or the full belly? So the ingredients are the billable hours. It's the time that you're putting into that project, plus any extra little bits and pieces like printing or maybe hosting. Secondly, the slice of pie is the output, that big, beautiful, finished piece that you're like, here you go, client. This is for you. This is done and it's complete. Or there's the end value of the project. So that kind of full belly feeling, the satisfied belly feeling. And so this can be translated into hourly, project, and value-based pricing, which are the three kind of key pricing methods that most people use. Now, let's look at the value-based pricing is that it's actually a lot more powerful than we give it credit. A satisfied belly is a powerful thing. A satisfied customer is so powerful because realistically, that value is that full belly feeling, that really happy feeling. And so it begs the question, how do we actually find the value of a job so that we can be charging for it? So to find out the value of a project, we first need to find out who it's valuable to. And that can be defined into three kind of, dishes. So it'll be the value to the creative, the value to the client, and the value to the customer. So we're going to actually go deeper into kind of the stuff that's in this. So let's break it down even further. So let's go into the value to the creative. So we're looking at the value of the time, the value of the future work, and the value of the enjoyment, because we kind of deserve to be enjoying what we're doing. So here's the first one. And we know all this. We definitely know that it's how many hours you will need to invest to complete it. That's just generally where the conversation stops, especially when charging for hourly-based pricing. And I'm here to tell you that let's keep going. Let's keep digging into more of the value that you're bringing. And so let's talk about value of future work. So how likely is the future work and the future work going to be desirable? So if you're doing a logo and you want to do more logos, it's going to be more valuable to you. But on the flip side, if you do logos and you hate logos, it's actually probably going to be less valuable to you to actually do that job because you don't want to be doing more. And the value of enjoyment. So if you're not enjoying the time, if you're spending 5, 10, 15 hours on a job that you're not enjoying and you're not getting paid enough for it, then it's not going to be valuable to you to take the job. And that's a really important part of the value to the creative. They actually have to enjoy the time. You actually have to enjoy the time. Not every single job, but a large majority. We're not here to just work and die. So we work out the value of the value to the creative. Now let's look at the value to the client. So what's the value of the solution, the value of the resale or profit capabilities, as well as the value of time saved? So the value of the solution would be how valuable would this job be to the client if it wasn't a problem? So how much of value are you going to be bringing by solving this problem for them? And it could be as simple as having more of a consistent brand or as complex as building a website. How valuable is that to the to the client? How much does the client look to make as a result of your service? So this is really important for things that are maybe product-based, or if the client is producing something that is going to make them money, you should be benefiting from that too. If you're helping your client make money, in which most design is, then you need to be considering that within your value-based pricing figure that you hand over at the start of the job. And then how much time will the client be saving by hiring you to do the work? The age-old saying goes, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, hire an amateur, because it's way more expensive. You're going to need to have the job done 2 or 3 times over, and that's going to be a headache. So it's actually more valuable to be providing a more expensive service, but if it's done well, then it's more valuable. And thirdly, let's look at the value to the customer. Now, this is really important when it looks at more product bases, but also if you're doing a business-to-business transaction, you need to understand and consider what the business-to-customer transaction is happening so that you can work in that value at the very start of the project. So let's look at the value of the problem. So once again, what is the value to the customer if it solves their problem? If they're looking for the ideal dress to wear to a 50th birthday party, they're going to be looking at the value of that solving that problem. They want something that they're going to feel beautiful in. They want something that they're going to be like, yes, this is what I'm wearing. That's valuable. That's really valuable that you're able to provide that service to solve that problem. Now, the value of investment. So there's a big difference between a $20 dress and a $200 dress. If it means that that figure is going to be playing a part in the ability for the customer to have a successful sale or how the customer perceives the client or the business, then that needs to be part of what you charge at the start based on value-based pricing. And then there's the value of the customer and what they place on the ability to be reused. So someone who is interested in making that, for instance, dress, fulfill multiple events or last longer, they're going to be more willing to pay the $200 price tag because they know that it's going to last longer rather than the $20 one, which will be fast fashion. It will turn over quickly and they won't actually feel as good in it. They won't be standing there at the 50th birthday party just like, look at me, look at me. They're actually going to be sitting there going, oh, this was only $20. Or they could be like, this was only $20. But the value that someone can feel from being in something beautiful and expensive is really powerful. So let's look at this as an example for a website. So if you were creating a website for a client, you would consider the time. So say, for instance, in this situation, we're going investment of 30 hours at $100 an hour. So around $3,000 plus expenses, because there'll be things like hosting or themes or anything that is part of that process. For this, we want this work. We like this work. We enjoy it and we want more in the future. So this would be the value for this side of things. For the client, it's more valuable for them to have a working website. So say, for instance, this is a wine client. You're building a website for a wine client. It's valuable for you to solve the problem for them when you're able to provide a website that their customers can access and sell, especially during current times. We in Melbourne here are in yet another lockdown because of the global situation. And realistically, having a working website that is able to sell your product has never been more valuable. This website stands to make this wine client $10,000 extra per year. So that's pretty good when it comes to a return on investment. If they're investing in something that's going to make them more money, it's really valuable for you to look at, okay, how much more could it make them? And if they did it themselves, they could stuff up payments, they could stuff up all different parts of the process, and it might even not look like their branding because realistically, they're looking from a DIY perspective. Yes, it works sometimes, but not always. And it would actually be really costly if things stuffed up on that end. And then we're looking at the value to the customer. So the fact that they can order wine online, have Shiraz brought to their door, and they don't have to put on pants, win, right? So that's really valuable to the customer. And they're probably not going to go, oh, I want one bottle. They'll probably get 6 or they'll get a couple. And so maybe the average sale per person is about $100. And then the customer is buying that to be reused, or not necessarily with the wine situation, but a lot of the time customers are going, okay, well, I'm going to purchase this item and know that I can refill it or reuse it or have a recyclability possibility. So for this example, let's say it's $3,000, maybe $4,000 for the value of this website to the creative. And then looking at the client, it's about $10,000 profit over 1 year, just as a monetary base. And then if the customer average sale is $100 and they get 20 new clients, that's already $2,000 that they've made from that website. So for this one, I would probably put the value of around $6,000, maybe even a little more, especially if it's a customer base that is growing or booming. And there's nothing worse than looking back on a job and going, damn, I should have charged more. So just a note, just because you're calculating the value of the job doesn't mean you actually have to tell the client how much you think the project is worth. That's your calculations that you've done to calculate how much you should be charging. And don't know about you, but I don't think a conversation with, well, you're not valued very much is going to go down well with the client, right? So let's have a look at the theory of the brunch receipt. Now, this is a little story that I like to tell around the value that you place on everyday things. So say, for instance, you've gone out for breakfast or brunch over the weekend and you've gone to your favorite place because you know that you love that place. You know what you like. You know the exact meal that you're going to get. So you sit down, look at the menu, and there's lots of other different options, right? Different options, different values, different prices. And so this is where you can sit there and go, okay, I'm willing to pick my favorite meal because I'm willing to invest in how much that's worth. You can see the dollar amount. So you order the meal, it comes, you're satisfied, you're happy, you've got that full belly feeling. And that's valuable. That's valuable to you because you know that you are going to love it. And so that's that's value-based pricing at its finest form. You're not going to walk into the kitchen and say, hey, chef, how much were the eggs? How much was the potato rosti or whatever it ends up being? You're not going to sit there and go, okay, I'm going to cherry pick all the ingredients. You're paying for the experience, for the convenience of someone else bringing you your favorite meal, but you're also paying for the value that you're getting because you know that it's something that can be trusted. There's nothing wrong with charging for value. If you're bringing something that's more valuable than the items that is brought together, that's important. So billing for value is actually giving the person the opportunity to make a choice. You're giving them the opportunity to say, hey, actually, yes, I'm willing to invest in that. Or, no, I'm not willing to invest in that. It's not as valuable to me as it is to you. So for instance, if you were someone that was like, oh, $26 for the Eggs Benedict, I'm not interested. That means not that it's less valuable now, but you didn't have the same matched value in yourself, in your mind. And that's okay. Not everyone can afford the pie that you're serving. There's always going to be objections. Objections like others are cheaper than you, or you're too expensive for us, or we just can't afford you at the moment. And that's okay. But realistically, the way you price can be as creative as the work itself. You should be looking at pricing as a creative act. This is really important when you get past the, okay, this is what the project is, and go, okay, this is how much it's worth. Where can we find somewhere that we can both come to the table? So if they can't afford you, provide options. You might be able to offer them payment plans or deferred payments to help with their cash flow. Potentially, you could offer a retainer because that means more continuous and safer kind of workflow over amount of time. And same with subscriptions. You could also be introducing barter or exchange within the transaction to help the monetary blow, but you still get something that is worth value. You should be adding value where you can and also negotiating value where there isn't necessarily budget. So you should be serving up that extra slice of value that doesn't actually increase your workload. Rather than making you work harder, let's work smarter. So if you're unsure what to charge at any point, ask more questions. Maybe you haven't asked enough questions to really get the information that you need to be able to charge the value. Lean on your community. If you've got someone else that you know who has done a job for that client before, ask questions because you're only going to be helping the industry as a whole. And go with your gut. If you feel like you're not charging enough, charge more. And if you feel like you're charging too much, then you're okay. Your costs need to scare you a little bit. Otherwise, you're too comfortable. And so I've got a freebie download here just for you, just for the Type Weekend viewers. So it actually works perfectly in conjunction with this presentation of discovering the recipe for value-based pricing. Your next job, you'll be able to break down into the value to the creative, aka you, the value of the client, and the value to the customer. And this way, we're going to be able to work out, okay, where is the value sitting? So if you head to easiestpiepricing.com/typeweekend, you can download your freebie. So there you have it. Mwah. The recipe to value-based pricing has been served up on a silver platter for you. But if you still have questions, I'm going to be hanging around for the next 10 minutes for Q&A, as well as feel free to jump on to easiestpiepricing.com/typeweekend to grab your freebie, or connect with me on Instagram at jhdesigns. I can't wait to have you at my next table, and have a great day. Now, go and get a snack.